started to speak. He started instructing about the science of Atma. So we discussed in the first half of the second chapter, Bhagavan was explaining the glories of Atma in different ways. First, he clarified that no one is body, so therefore grieving for body is not something that is appealing to an intelligent person. So a Pandita must therefore not grieve for something which is temporary, that is body, and should care for something which is everlasting and eternal, which is Atma. And then he went on to describe about how Atma is pervading this entire body. Avinashitu tadviddi ena sarvam idam tatam. By those verses, he was describing how Atma is seated in this body and is also pervading by spreading its consciousness throughout the body. So we then discussed in the second, so just learning the Atma's characteristics alone is not enough, because that then there ends it. So the theory part of the science of soul ends there. And that alone, just learning that, just reading the Atma's qualities alone will not lead to the realization of Atma. So we are all Atmas only, but we are not able to realize Atma. When I mean we are not able to realize Atma, we are not able to see clearly, distinctly that we are not this body. Somewhere there is this feeling that we are this body. And that is very strongly, deeply rooted within the consciousness of everyone. And that is because of the impurities. When I mean impurities, it is accumulated mentally in the form of impressions that we gather through various lives. So these impurities, which are now clouding the knowledge of Atma, have to be first removed so that the Atma can realize itself. So therefore, just merely learning about Atma will not lead to the realization, and one has to therefore perform sadhana. And that sadhana is Karma Yoga. And Bhagavan described it as Buddhi Yoga in the second chapter. The reason being, here, Buddhi, intelligence, is fixated on Atma as the goal when in performance of any duty. So when we do any duty without expecting the results, that leads to the purification of mind, and then one can realize Atma gradually, and that's a process that takes several lifetimes, but in nutshell, that is the process. So as we keep doing the Karma Yoga, as we keep doing Karma Yoga means when we perform our duty with the expectation, without the expectation of the results, and relinquishing the sense of doership. So I'm now feeling that I'm the doer, and that is not a Karma Yoga. So I should feel that because of the gunas, I'm impelled to do many actions, many duties, and so therefore I'm forced to act in any way, and it is better for me if I act for my own purification. So that was discussed in the third chapter. Karma Yoga, why Karma Yoga is better and it is recommended for most of the people is because we are all acting in one way or the other in this world. And what is impelling us to act is the guna that Bhagavan made clear in the third chapter of Gita that was discussed in the last session. So everyone is under the influence of the three gunas called Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And these three gunas combine in various proportions to create the tendencies and desires and everything. So our desires is because of influence of these gunas. And we act in a certain way, we think in a certain way. Our thinking process is different. Each one has a different thinking process. Each one has a different kind of desire. And these innumerable differences between even two persons is because of the difference in the proportion of sattva, rajas, tamas. So Bhagavan therefore said in the third chapter, see, you are anyway acting under the influence of gunas. So even if you artificially give up doing your duties, still it is impossible because there is always this agitation within the mind because of the guna, and that will push you into some form of action anyway. Avasham avasham prakrite vashat. So by the influence of prakriti gunas, avasham, every jiva is acting helplessly in this world, starting from an ant till the devas like Indra, Brahma, etc. Everyone is under the influence of the gunas and they are made to act helplessly by these gunas. So, therefore, the best course of action is not to immediately renounce all these activities because such a renunciation is impossible because of the force of these gunas. So, Bhagavan therefore suggested a way for everyone to purify through these activities, and he then explained a scheme how in the beginning of creation the Lord, after creating everyone, asked everyone to do the yajna, so that all the humans and in the Martyaloka they'll be doing yajna for the satisfaction of the devas, and the devas after getting satisfied provide the humans with necessary resources like rain, grains, etc. So there is a system here created by Bhagavan. So that system here is that the humans will be doing sacrifice, yajnas, etc., and for the satisfaction of devas, and devas will in turn be giving them more and more of the resources, you, using the fraction of which the humans will again perform the activity. So therefore it's a nice system of exchange. So that system Bhagavan explained in the third chapter. Now in the fourth chapter also Bhagavan is speaking about karma yoga, but in a much greater detail. We will have a very clear understanding of how this karma yoga leads to jnana and how jnana leads to liberation. So, performance of karma yoga leads to jnana, and jnana leads to liberation because ignorance is the cause of bondage. Our lack of knowledge about Atma and Paramatma is the reason why we are stuck in this samsara, doing various karmas and trying to enjoy in different ways by performance of the karma. So, karma in this sense is binding us. Each moment we perform karma, and each karma is going to give us some result and is going to implicate us more and more into this samsara. So, therefore, we have to get rid of this ignorance. So, Bhagavan very detailedly describes how by doing karma yoga, one's knowledge, one's jnanam is flourishing. So, that is the overall theme in this chapter. But Bhagavan starts with something different in this first portion of this chapter. So, Bhagavan says, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Imam Vivasvate Yogam, Proktavan Aham Avyayam, Vivasvan Manave Praha, Manu Rikshvakave Bravit. Yes. So this is the first sloka in the fourth chapter. The meaning of that sloka you can see on this slide. So Bhagavan is saying, so the discussion is still about Karma Yoga only. And in fact, 3 or 4 chapters it is about Karma Yoga. Bhagavan is describing in various ways Karma Yoga and also gives more and more clarity in as he goes on to describe about Karma Yoga. So, but he is taking a small digression here in the first part of this chapter. So he says that I spoke this science of yoga, imperishable science of yoga to Vivaswan. Vivaswan is the Surya Narayana or the presiding deity in sun. So every planet has a presiding deity. And the presiding deity in the Surya. So daily we see sun and we see it as a big globe, of fiery ball, and that is lighting the entire universe. But Shastras say that different lokas have different rulers, and only through Shastras we can know about such rulers. And so, therefore, uh, we have to now believe that Vivaswan was the sun god, and Bhagavan spoke this Atma Jnanam, this science of Atma, to Vivaswan many millions of years ago. That he says. And Vivaswan spoke to Manu. Manu is the father of mankind, we say. That's why the word man comes from the word Manu. And in Tamil also we say Manushyan. Because Manu, it is the in every language, if you take the meaning of the word man or human, it is somewhere connected to Manu, because Manu is the father of mankind. So Manu spoke to his son Ikshvaku, and we know Ikshvaku dynasty where the Lord Ramachandra appears. So in this way, Bhagavad Gita was already spoken by Bhagavan, and here the estimate is given that he spoke some 120 million years ago to Vivaswan, and in that way, this knowledge was handed over by the kings to their uh, sons, etc. So it's called therefore Raja Vidya, because this knowledge is essential for kings so that they can properly conduct the administration. And Manu spoke to Ikshvaku, Ikshvaku spoke to his son, so on, etc. So this is called parampara. One must receive knowledge from parampara. Parampara is what is called disciplic succession. Guru, who is enlightened, speaks the knowledge to his disciple, and that disciple, by hearing it, assimilates it and realizes it, and he imparts that knowledge to his Shishya. And in that way, this parampara is the way by which one can get the knowledge, the true knowledge. So, any true knowledge about Bhagavan or Atma must come in the line of the parampara. So, evam parampara praptam imam rajarishyo viduhu sa kalena mahata yoga nashta parantapa. But by in due course of time, this knowledge was lost because of the influence of time and because of various reasons. So therefore, Bhagavan says he is now speaking the same knowledge that he spoke before several millions of years ago to Vivaswan. So whenever there is the discrepancy in the original teaching of Bhagavad Gita, then there arises the need to re-establish that. So whenever the chain in the parampara is lost, Bhagavan himself comes and fixes it, or some great acharyas come and fix that. So that is the way one can understand transcendental science, and this is easy to understand because one cannot understand these knowledge on one's own strength. Even if you take ordinary subjects like engineering, one cannot learn on one's own ability. One may try to learn, but we may be reinventing the wheel one after the other. And if we keep on learning on our own, we will not be able to progress. So therefore, we go to established institutions, we go to engineering colleges or medical colleges and learn that science, because there is a tradition, medicine tradition, engineering tradition. Similarly, this Atma Vidya, this Brahma Vidya also has the tradition, and one who approaches that parampara can understand this knowledge without any flaw. So, sa evayam maya tedya yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me saka cheti rahasyam hi etad uttamam. Bhagavan says, this is uttama rahasyam. What I am speaking to you, it's a very confidential knowledge, and I am speaking to you because bhaktosi me saka cheti. You are my bhakta and you are my friend. So Bhagavan says that in order to understand this knowledge, the qualification is one must be a bhakta and one must be favorably related to Krishna like a friend, or like a servant, etc. And that is the qualification of learning this Rahasyam. So this is Rahasyam because in Vedas, one can learn Brahma Vidya after a lot of research, after going through Karmakanda portion, then Jnanakanda portion, and then trying to understand it and assimilate it. It takes a lot of time. So it is not very easy to understand the Bhagavad Tattva Jnanam, the science of God, from Vedas directly. So, therefore, this Bhagavad Tattva Jnanam, the science of Atma and science of Bhagavan, is very, very confidential knowledge. Even for one who has done Veda Adhyayanam, even for one who has mastered the Vedas, it is difficult to understand this knowledge. So, therefore, if one becomes a Bhakta, then the access to this knowledge will be made available because only Bhaktas can understand. And in the 4.4 verse, Bhagavan Arjuna asks a question. Aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah katam edat vijaniyam tvam adau proktavaniti. So Arjuna is asking, you are saying you spoke this Brahma Vidya to Vivasvan. But Vivasvan is very, very old person. He is very senior to your birth. And you are 120 years old. And you and I, we are contemporaries. How can I believe that you spoke this knowledge to Vivaswan, who is much older than you, who is much senior to you by birth? So this is very interesting question. Here it apparently appears that Arjuna is asking this question out of doubt, thinking that Bhagavan is saying something so fancy to encourage me. No, it is not so. Because later in the 11th chapter, Arjuna says, Param Brahma, Param Dama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. Oh, you are Param Brahma, you are same Parabrahmam you are. And you are Param Dama, and you are Pavitram, you are the Brahmam, you are the purest of the pure. He says later in the 11th chapter. And so he knows the identity of Bhagavan here, identity of Krishna here. But still he is asking this question for the sake of others who might doubt Bhagavan, who might doubt Bhagavan's authenticity. So Bhagavan then clarifies in the 5th verse. Bhagavan says, Shri Bhagavanu Vacha, Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacha Arjuna tani aham veda sarvani natvam veta parantapa. Bhagavan says, many births both you and I have passed. But I can remember all of them, but you cannot, he says. So this is very important shloka. Here Bhagavan is describing the difference between a Jivatma and Paramatma. So there is always this difference between Jivatma and Paramatma. When Jivatma takes birth, it takes birth being impelled by past karma, past impressions. And then it gets stuck in the samsara, doing other karmas. But when Bhagavan descends, it is not that because some karma is pushing him, he is taking birth. And that he clarifies in the very next verse. So he is coming, and his coming is called avataram. Whereas ordinary jivas, when they take birth, it is because of karma. Whereas when Bhagavan takes birth, it is called avataram. And there are innumerable avatarams that he takes. Sometimes he comes as Matsya, sometimes he comes as Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, etc. Rama, Balarama, Parashurama, etc. All these are avatarams of Bhagavan. And because Bhagavan is omniscient, he always knows about everything in every nook and corner of this universe. Whereas a Jiva, being very small, Jiva is like Anu, Bhagavan is Vibhu. That is the difference. Jivatma is like Anu, Paramatma is like Vibhu, and that's why Brahman we say Brahman because the meaning of the word Brahman is something very, very large, and one who comes in contact with Brahman also is made very large. So that is the meaning of the word Brahman. So Paramatma, when he takes birth, it is not like ordinary jivas taking birth, and he can remember every avataram because he is cognizant of every activity that he did, and not only of his activity, he knows every jiva's activity, every jiva's karma phalam, why the jiva has taken birth in a particular form, and how to distribute the results of karma to all these jivas. Exactly, we are getting the results of karma at specific time, and there is no flaw in this. Whatever we are experiencing, definitely 100% we can say it is because of the past karma. So Bhagavan knows when to give the results to which jiva at what time. To that extent Bhagavan knows. So that is the difference between Bhagavan and jiva. So there is also similarity between Bhagavan and jiva. Both are made of Sachidananda body. In fact, Atma's real body is also made of Sat, Chit and Ananta. But now it has forgotten because of coming in contact with Prakriti Gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Whereas Bhagavan, who is above the three Gunas, that we will see, because Bhagavan himself is going to speak about him in the subsequent verses. So he says he is above the three Gunas. So therefore, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas and Maya cannot cover him. Whereas Jivas can be covered by Maya, can be covered by delusion. And that Maya leads to misidentification with the body. So the Jiva thinks that we think that we are this body. Why? Because of the delusion caused by the Maya. And this Maya is acting in the form of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas and making the Jiva engage in various karma. Whereas Bhagavan, who is above the Maya, being the controller of Maya, being the controller of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, doesn't come under the influence of Maya. So that also is a difference between him and Jiva. So then Bhagavan says in the next verse, Ajopisan avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropisan prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atma mayaya. So Bhagavan says Ajaha. Ajaha means someone who is not born. Avyayatma. Avyayatma means his atma, which means his body or mind or intellect, never deteriorates, never never diminishes. Avyayatma. Bhutanam Ishvaraha. I am the Lord of all beings, all the entities. Bhutanam Ishvaraha. Ishvara Api. So, in spite of being unborn, in spite of having a body that doesn't deteriorate, in spite of being the Lord of all entities, I still appear, he says. Prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atma mayaya. Sambhavami, I keep coming again and again. Sambhavami, I appear. Prakritim swam prakriti, my prakriti, in my original form, or with all my original qualities, I appear. So though I appear in the samsara, you may think that I'm like a human. Just like if a king goes to a jail, sometimes kings go to jail and see how the prisoners are suffering. So when king enters a jail, the prisoners who are not knowledgeable might think that this king is also like us because he is in the jail. But king knows that king came for a different purpose. He was not pushed into the prison by someone. He came on his own. Atma Mayaya, Bhagavan says, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. Atma Mayaya means out of my own sweet will. Atma Mayaya. Out of my own sweet will, I desire to take birth here or I desire to descend in this samsara. So just like when a king enters a prison, his quality of being a king doesn't go away, right? He still has the same authority, same power, etc. Similarly, when Bhagavan takes birth, his original qualities, like he is unborn or Bhutanam Ishvaraha, just because he has taken birth, he will not become one of the Bhutas. Bhutanam Ishvaraha, he says, he continues to be Bhutanam Ishvaraha because that is not a post. For Devatas, they are given post. Indra is a post. So in one day of Brahma, it is said that 14 Indras change. So in the next day of Brahma, when Indra comes, a different person will be Indra, not the current Indra. Just like we also see, our Prime Minister, every 5 years, through the process of election, we elect our Prime Minister. And next time, maybe someone else will become Prime Minister. Because Prime Minister is a post. Today someone is a prime minister, tomorrow someone will become a prime minister. So that is not the way Bhagavan is Ishvara here. Bhutanam Ishvara, when he says, I am the Lord of all entities, it is not the post. It is his Swabhavam. Sambhavami Atma Prakritim Swam. It is his own Prakriti. It is by his own nature. It is his Swabhava. Swabhavika Ishvara he is. By nature he is a Ishvara, not by post. So therefore, even when he takes birth as Krishna, Rama, or Narsimha, his qualities will not change. That's what Bhagavan says. And when he takes form also, that form is not made of Panchabhutam. This is another difference. So when we take form, when we take birth, our body is made of 5 elements. But when Bhagavan takes birth, his body is not made of 5 elements. So it is Sachidananda Vigraham. Even when he descends, his body is not made of 5 elements. It is spiritual body. His body will not have thirst. It doesn't have blood flowing. It doesn't have veins, intestines, etc. like ordinary body. So therefore, one has to understand the real position of Bhagavan when he appears in this world. So why does he appear also is another question. So why should he appear? So this example can be given. Suppose when a mother is carrying a child and child falls into a drainage pit, what will mother do? So mother, will she ask for someone's help, or will she shout for someone's help, or will she be quiet? She does none of this. She herself jumps into the drainage and picks the child up, isn't it? Because the child is her own child. She will not seek someone's help, or she will not stay silent. She herself will jump into the drainage pit and picks the child. Similarly, Bhagavan, we are all children of Bhagavan, and we are struggling in this samsara, stuck in this process of karma, doing continuous karma and taking birth one after the other. So, out of compassion, impelled by unlimited compassion, he jumps into this drainage of samsara to reveal his identity and to liberate all the jivas. So, that is the purpose of his appearance. So, his appearance is just like sunrise and sunsets. So, when sun is rising, it appears as if the sun is taking birth, but sun is always there. Sun is always rising in some part of the earth, but in this part of the earth we are seeing just now the sun is rising, and when sun is setting, it doesn't mean that sun disappears. Sun is again rising in some part of the universe. So Bhagavan is like Surya. He appears or he disappears. It appears as if he is taking birth like a normal human and he dies like a normal human, both of which are not facts. So, Bhagavan is explaining the secret of his Janma in this verse. And in the next verse, Bhagavan is talking about the secret of his karma. So, in the 6th verse, he spoke about the secret of Janma. In the 7th verse, he speaks about the secret of his karma. Why does he appear? As I just now mentioned, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkrutam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So whenever there is a decline in religious practice, whenever the adharma rises, Bhagavan comes to fix that. In Vishnu Sahasranamam, one of the names of Bhagavan is Dharma Gup. He is a protector of Dharma. He is the very form of Dharma. He is also the maintainer of this universe. So therefore, for all these reasons, he himself takes the responsibility of protecting the Dharma because it is his creation. He has also got to maintain this. So he comes to protect Dharma. And what is a Dharma? That Dharma is the Atmanyanam. So humans, one of the main reasons why we are given the body of this human is to realize that we are Atma. If we don't realize our real Swarupa, then we are missing our real Dharma. Without knowing the identity, one cannot perform one's Dharma. So the Dharma of this Atma is to be servant of Paramatma. But now because it has forgotten the Dharma, it is assuming various other dharmas, various other responsibilities, having assumed a particular designation. So the real meaning of the word dharma is swabhavam of Atma, and adharma is forgetfulness of the swabhavam of Atma. The natural intrinsic quality of Atma is forgotten. So to remind all the jivas of their real nature and that they are the servant of Paramatma, he appears and educates all the humans about their identity. And he also comes paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkritam. He also comes to protect his devotees, protect his bhaktas and pious people, and also to give enjoyment to them, and to destroy the asuras. Actually, he need not come personally to destroy the asuras, because acharyas write in their commentaries that merely by his will he can destroy any asura. So the real purpose of his appearance is to give enjoyment to his devotees. To make devotees happy, he appears. Just like how bhaktas want to make Bhagavan happy, Bhagavan also feels the need to make his bhaktas happy. That is the loving transaction between bhakta and Bhagavan. So to give enjoyment to his devotees, he appears. And in the Kali Yuga, he appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to spread Harinama Sankirtanam. In various yugas, he appears in various avatars. So there are different kinds of avatars. We are not going into the detail of all that. So Bhagavan says in the next verse, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tattvataha tektva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. So in the previous verse, he spoke about his activity, why he appears and what does he do after appearing. And before that, he explained his Janma Rahasyam. Though he appears, he is not one of the born beings. He is not like one of the born humans being pushed by karma. So one who knows the secret of Bhagavan's Janma and Bhagavan Karma, after understanding that they are Divyam, Divyam means Divya Janmam, Divya Karmam. So his birth is Divyam. His karma is Divyam. Whatever he does, it is spiritual. Divyam means something that doesn't come under the influence of Sattvam, Rajas, Tamas, is Divyam. So his Janma or his karma doesn't come under the influence of the material gunas. He retains his spiritual authority even when he comes. So one who understands this fact, evam yo veti, veti means one who knows this, tattvataha, in fact, in truth, what happens to the person just merely by knowing about Bhagavan's Janma and Karma, the phalam is, the fruit is, Tektva deham punarjanmanaiti mameti sorjuna. after giving up the deham, tyaktva deham, punarjanma naiti. One need not take birth. One gets mukti and attains mean punarjanma naiti mam yeti. Mam yeti, who he comes to me, Bhagavan says. So that same mukti which is attained after a lot of struggle by jnanis and yogis, after performing their sadhana for many millions of lives, can be very easily obtained by one who can understand the secret of Bhagavan's Janma and Karma. That secret is that his Janma and Karma are Divyam. Vitaraga Bayakroda Manmaya Mam Upashitaha Bahavo Jnana Tapasa Puta Madbhava Magataha. Now Bhagavan also gives instances of great personalities in the past who attain mukti by this process. Vita raga baya krodha. By giving up the ragam means attachment. Baya means fear. Krodha means anger. By giving up these three undesirable qualities, which is binding a jiva, manmaya mam upashitaha. Manmaya, and by totally absorbed in me, and mam upashitaha, by taking shelter of me. Bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhava magataha. In the past, many people became purified by by knowledge of me. Bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavam agataha. Madbhavam agataha. And they attained my nature, Bhagavan says. So in the second chapter, he was describing the various qualities of Atma. We were discussing all of it. Now he is describing the qualities of Paramatma, because Atma and Paramatma is the object of Karma Yoga. So that's what Bhagavan is going to present in this chapter. Not merely knowing the fact that we are Atma will suffice. Both realizations, Atma realization and Paramatma realization, both can be achieved by following this Karma Yoga process. So Bhagavan has taken a slight digression from Nishkama Karma Yoga, and he explained about his Janma and Karma. Why did he do so? Because Arjuna asked this question. You are saying you spoke this knowledge to Vivaswan, aparam bhavato janma, param janma vivasvataha, katamedat vijaniya. So he asked this question, why, how can I believe you that you spoke this knowledge to Vivaswan many millions of years ago? Because you are junior and Vivaswan is senior, Vivaswan is elder and you are younger. So while giving answer to that question, Bhagavan is explaining about his Janma and Karma being Divyam. And now he is again going to speak about Karma Yoga. He is going to give more clarity that was not given in the previous chapters. So, Bhagavan says, Ye yata mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. So, Bhagavan responds. So, one who merely understands Bhagavan's Janmam and Karmam can get mukti. Just now Bhagavan said. And Bhagavan also responds to various people according to the degrees of their advancement. One who has not perfectly understood Janma and Karma, he may not get liberation, but to such a person also Bhagavan reciprocates. How does he reciprocate? Ye yata mam prapatyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. To whatever extent they surrender unto me, to that extent I also bless them. And I make them eligible for moksha. Now they are not eligible for moksha, but slowly they will become eligible one point of time in future. So I reciprocate them accordingly. This proportional relationship is there. More and more one bhakta does bhakti, sharanagati towards Bhagavan, more and more Bhagavan gets pleased, and by his causeless mercy, he gives knowledge of Atma and Paramatma to the jiva, and slowly the jiva becomes eligible for liberation. So, mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvasaha. All men follow these various paths to attain me. And in the 12th verse, Bhagavan speaks about people who worship devas, different devas and devatas. कांक्षन्तः कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्त इह देवतः क्षिप्रं हि मनुष्ये लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा. So not everyone will be worshipping Bhagavan. Some will be worshipping different devatas. They are blessed by those devatas. And their Shipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Desiring quick benefits. If one wants quick benefit, material benefit, one approaches devata for example, if one wants quick wealth, one can worship Uma, for instance. If one wants good health, one can worship Aditya. So we all of us have different desires, material desires, and demigods, devatas, they are capable of satisfying the desires very quickly. So therefore, kangshantaha karmanam siddhim, because of the strong desire, kangshantaha karmanam siddhim, and desiring fulfillness in their activities, some people worship demigods, and they are also blessed by those demigods. But these demigods, different devatas, are compared to limbs of Bhagavan. Bhagavan he is having various limbs. Limbs means parts. So these devatas are all parts of Bhagavan's whole body. Bhagavan, when he shows Vishwarupa Darshanam in chapter 12, in chapter 11, he shows the whole form of universe as his form. And all the devatas are present as limbs in his universal form. So he is Atma of everyone. Everyone is like body of Bhagavan, whereas he is Atma of everyone. So therefore, these devatas, they are given their power to bestow their blessings for their worshippers, also by Bhagavan only. So real ability to bless also comes from the same Bhagavan. So the boons that these devatas give are material and temporary. Mukti cannot be given by any devata. If one wants mukti, if one surrenders unto devatas desiring mukti, mukti cannot be given because those devatas are also still in this samsara. Many of the devatas are still in samsara. So therefore they are also seeking mukti, and in that position they cannot give mukti, but they can satisfy the material desires. They can give good wealth, good health, good wife, good children, etc. Because all these are needed in the human society. That's how Bhagavan has created the system. Humans, by various sacrifices, satisfy demigods or devatas, and devatas, being satisfied, bless the humans with all the material benefits that they require. And so there is a system of exchange. Humans perform activities to satisfy demigods, devatas, and devatas, being satisfied, give the blessings in the form of resources like rain, good food grains, etc., good cultivation, etc. And that way, everyone is satisfied. So, Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. And this verse often is considered as controversial verse. Because Bhagavan says here, Chaturvarnyam, the four Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, are created by me. Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. But Bhagavan also clearly says, these divisions are based on Guna and Karma. Tasya kartaram api mam vidhi akartaram avyayam. So Bhagavan has created the system, Lord has created the system consisting of four varnas, and this division is to facilitate smooth functioning of the society. In every society, we need someone who is a teacher, who can teach the knowledge of Atma, and we also need people who can protect this society. And we also need people who can create food, do agriculture, and do business. And we also need people who can serve all the three. So, based on the guna and karma, this classification is made by Bhagavan so that everyone can advance in the spiritual life by doing their respective duty without expecting the results. Everyone cannot be put in the same. So, people will often say, no, these divisions are creating differences and therefore discrimination is happening. Caste based discrimination is because of these divisions. No, caste based discrimination is because of ignorance. If one can understand that these divisions are required for the functioning of the society, and these divisions are not merely based on birth, they are guna based on guna. Everyone has a particular inclination, guna. And so, according to the guna, karmas will be created. And only if one does that karma which is conducive, which is compatible with one's guna, one can be peaceful. If my guna is one thing and if my karma is a different thing, then there is incompatibility between guna and karma. So one cannot progress in the spiritual life, also in the material life. So therefore, these divisions is not to promote discrimination. These divisions are required for any functioning of any society. Even if you take Western society, naturally these divisions are there. Someone is a professor, someone is a farmer. Everyone cannot become professor, everyone cannot become farmer, and this is naturally present in every society, not just in Indian society. It is also present in Western societies. So therefore, one must understand the reason for the existence of these classification. Tasya kartaram api mam vidya kartaram avyayam. And Bhagavan said, though he created this system, he is not the doer. It is not because of his deciding. He is not deciding, oh, you should become Brahmana, I will make you take birth as Brahmana. No, you should become a Shudra. You should, therefore, because of because I don't like you, I will make you Shudra. It is not that. He says, I am not responsible for these divisions. The jivas, they develop various vasanas, various tendencies based on the gunas, prakriti gunas. And so they acquire some nature. This acquired nature will decide which kind of birth they will be getting. So Bhagavan is not influencing by pushing someone into more sattva guna and someone into more rajoguna, etc. Everyone has a free will to associate with these gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. If one associates more with rajoguna, activities of rajoguna, that rajoguna will flourish. And so the kama, krodha, lobha, moha, etc. will flourish. And then that jiva is given a body suitable for that guna in the next life. So, therefore, Bhagavan is not partial in giving someone a Brahmana birth and in giving a different person a Kshudra birth. So that's why he says Tasya Kartaram Api Mam Vidhi Akartaram Avyayam. I am impartial. I created the system, but I am not the doer. I am only one reason. Of course, I am sanctioning them, the birds, but it is because of their gunas that those jivas associate with, they are getting a particular body. So, therefore, this Vedas is trying to elevate every section of the society by engaging them in the duty which is compatible to their gunas, and that will lead to the chitta shuddhi for everyone, and one will become eligible for moksha one day. That is a scheme of these four varnas. So in the 14th verse, Bhagavan says, Nama karmani limpanti name karma phales praha. So Bhagavan has created this universe and he created these divisions, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So many activities he is doing. He is giving karma results to everyone. So are these actions binding him? These are all very big activities. Are these actions binding him? Bhagavan answers, no. Namam karmani limpanti. There is no work that can bind me. When can one be bound by the work? Only when one desires the fruits of action. If I am expecting some results from my action, I will be bound. But Bhagavan is not expecting any result from the act of creation of this universe, or from creating the divisions of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, etc. There is no fruit of action that he is desiring. So therefore, nothing is binding him. Iti mam yo abhijanati karma bir nasapadyate. Even one who understands this truth about Bhagavan, that he is not bound, even while performing the act of creation, which is a very big activity, he is not bound. He is not entangled in the fruits of action because he is not expecting anything from these activities. So nothing binds him. And knowing this, evam nyatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi. Mumukshu means someone who is desiring liberation. So in the past, evam nyatva, knowing this, many liberated souls, many souls got liberated, knowing about my transcendental nature, about my spiritual nature. Now I am using the word transcendental. Transcendental means someone who is above the three guna, sattva, rajas, tamas. That's how Prabhupada translates. So because Bhagavan has no desire for while performing any of these activities like creation, and because he is above the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, he is not bound by anything. Not just that, one who understands this fact also becomes liberated. Kuru karmaiva tasmatvam purvai purvataram kritam. Therefore, you do your duty following in the footsteps of those liberated souls in the past. You also do your duty just like how I am doing the duty. I am doing my duty of creation, but I am not bound by it. So you also do the duty of creation, and you will not be you also do your duty of acting as a kshatriya without expecting the results. You will also be not bound. And while also doing so, you know about my nature. My nature is spiritual. My janma karma is spiritual. Knowing this, you will also be liberated. So this karma yoga leads to chitta shuddhi, purification of consciousness. And when the consciousness is purified, one's atma jnanam will manifest. Along with atma jnanam, paramatma jnanam is also manifesting. That from these verses we can see both atma jnanam, the knowledge about atma, that is one's own self, and knowledge about the controller of atma, the master of atma, that is paramatma, both will appear simultaneously. And with the knowledge of these two, atma and paramatma, one becomes eligible for liberation. And that's how the nishkama karma yoga leads to liberation. Bhagavan is not stopping here. He is going to explain in detail, starting from 16th verse, in much greater detail, how by doing this karma yoga, one gets the knowledge of both Atma and Paramatma. So Bhagavan says in the 16th verse, Kim karma kim akarmeti kavayopyatra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshyami yajnatva mokshase shubhat. So what is karma? What is akarma? It is confusing topic. Karma, we mean action, which is action based on Vedas, based on Shastras. So Shastras prescribe certain karma, certain duty to everyone based on their guna and karma. That is karma. Akarma means when one becomes perfect in doing karma yoga, then whatever one does will not produce any result. That is akarma. So akarma is the action that doesn't produce any material result, that doesn't entangle a person to this world. That is akarma. So Bhagavan says, Kim karma, kim akarmeti. What is karma? What is akarma? Kim karma, kim akarmeti. Kavayopi atra mohitaha. Even kavaya, even greatly intelligent people get confused. Bhagavan says, Tatte karma pravakshyami. So therefore, I am going to speak to you about what is this karma. Tatte karma pravakshyami. Yajnatva mokshase shubhat. So knowing what is karma, you will be liberated, yajnatva, knowing which moksha se ashubhat. Ashubham means something inauspicious. So every jiva is now in the samsara. That is the cause of inauspiciousness for a jiva. So as humans, we should know what is karma, what is akarma, and knowing that will lead to liberation from this inauspicious existence called samsara. That's what Bhagavan says, yajnatva mokshase shubhat. Karmano hi api bodhavyam. One must know what is bodhavyam means one must understand. Karmano api. Karma, what is karma? One must understand. Bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha. What is vikarma? Now, vikarma are the actions which are forbidden in the scriptures. So, scriptures prescribe certain actions, they forbid some actions. The actions that lead to bondage, more and more bondage in this world, and that leads to more and more forgetfulness of Atma and identification of Prakriti is forbidden in the scripture. And those are called vikarma. So one must know what is karma. Karmano hi api bodhavyam. Bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha. One must know what is vikarma. Akarmanascha bodhavyam. One must also know what is akarma. Gahano karmano gatihi. And these truths are very difficult to understand. It's very difficult to understand what is a karma because they are all looking similar. It looks so similar. We are not able to understand what is karma, what is akarma, etc. So Bhagavan says tatte. So I am going to personally speak to you about what is karma, what is akarma, etc. So in the 18th verse, Bhagavan says, karmani akarma yap pashyet akarmani cha karmaya sa buddhiman manushyesu sa yukta krishna karmakrit. So one who sees inaction in action, karmani akarmayah. Karmani in karma, if one sees akarma, if one sees inaction in action. Karmani akarmaya pashyet. Akarmani cha karmayah. One who sees action in inaction, sa buddhiman. Manusheshu. Out of all the humans, he is intelligent person. Sa yukta Krishna karmakrit. And he has performed all the actions properly and he is qualified for liberation. So what is this karma and akarma in karma? So we must understand. Once again, so why we are doing this karma? Because every jiva is bound by the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, which is pushing every jiva to act in a certain way. That's why everyone is doing karma. And that karma, if one does the karma ordained in the scripture, which is based on one's guna, then that will lead to the prescribed activities according to scriptures. So that is called duty. We say duty. As one keeps performing the duty without expectation of the result, one day one will become perfect in doing karma yoga. And then from that point, one is no longer entangled by doing karma. So one starts to do karma yoga and continues this process for several millions of lives, and one achieves perfection in karma yoga at some point of time in future. From that point, the karma is not going to bind that person. That kind of karma is called akarma. So that activity that the perfected person does will no longer be able to bind that person to the samsara. So therefore it is called akarma. And therefore this karma yoga has led to jnana of Atma. We have already mentioned that is the purpose of karma yoga. Karma yoga's purpose is chitta shuddhi, purification of consciousness, and this process may take a very long time. But once this process is complete, when chitta shuddhi is complete, when consciousness is pure, then knowledge of Atma jnanam will happen to that person. One can realize Atma. So therefore, karma yoga leads to jnana. And that jnana is called akarma here. So the activities performed in the perfect knowledge of Atma and Atma's master, who is Bhagavan Paramatma, is akarma. That's it. Vikarma is forbidden action that binds us more and more to this cycle of birth and death. So, in the 19th verse, यस्य सर्वे समारंभे काम संकल्प वर्जितः ज्ञानाग्नि दग्ध कर्माणां तम आहु पंडितां बुधः. So, as I said, this karma yoga leads to jnana. That is the goal of karma yoga. Goal of karma yoga is jnana of Atma and Paramatma. And when that is attained, that will burn the karma, that will burn the results of karma. So, yasya sarve samarambe kama sankalpa varjitah. When one has given up the kama sankalpam totally, so now whatever activity we are doing, because there is a sankalpam, kama sankalpam in us, we desire to achieve something, that's why we are doing. But when one has achieved the perfection, that kama sankalpam is no longer present. There is no desire to enjoy. Sarve samarambe, whatever one action one begins, there is no longer this kama sankalpam, this determination for achieving some result. Kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagda karmanam. So, in that state of consciousness, one has attained perfection in karma yoga, and in that jnanam that results from this karma yoga, all the karma is burnt. Jnanagni dagda karmanam. One must understand this karma is the cause of one taking birth again and again. So somehow we have to burn this karma. Somehow we have to burn this karma, and that can only lead to liberation. So that process is this. When one achieves perfection doing karma yoga, that will lead to jnana of Atma and Paramatma, and that jnanam will burn the karma. Jnanagni dagda karmanam. Here jnanam is compared to Agni. Just like how a fire burns a firewood, this jnanagni, this knowledge will burn all the previous karma. Jnanagni dagda karmanam tam ahu panditam buddha. So, one who engages in all activities but being devoid of desire for sense enjoyment has burned up all reactions of work by fire of knowledge. By fire of knowledge. Jnanagni dagda karmanam tam ahu panditam buddha. त्यक्त्वा कर्म फलासंगान नित्य तृप्तो निराश्रयः. So, giving up this phala sanga, giving up this desire for karma phalam, tyaktva karma phala sangam nitya tripto, always fully satisfied. Nirashrayah, without depending on anyone. Nirashrayah, karmani abhipravurto. Even if one does all the karma, karmani abhipravurto pi naiva kinchit karoti saha. So in that state, after achieving perfection in the karma yoga, one may be engaged in any activity. But because there is no longer this desire for any action, such actions are not going to bind that person. Because that person is nitya triptaha, always fully satisfied in realizing the Atma, nitya triptaha, nirashrayaha. He is no longer taking shelter of anyone or dependent on anyone. Nirashrayaha, karmani abhipravurto, even though he is engaged, apparently it looks like karma. Apparently looks like karma only. But that is not going to bind that person. Karmani abhipravurto api naiva kinchit karoti saha. Even there is no scope for such person to fall down because of all the reactions being burnt in the knowledge that is attained as a result of karma yoga. Nirashir yata chittatma त्यक्त सर्व परिग्रहः शरीरम केवलम कर्म कुर्वन् नाप्नोति किल्बिषम. So when one is free from the desires, nirashir yata chittatma tyakta sarva parigrahah. Yata chittatma, when mind is controlled, senses are controlled, body is controlled. Tyakta sarva parigrahah, sense of doership, as I already said. So if one is doing karma yoga, one must not desire the results of the action. One must perform for the sake of attaining jnanam or atma jnanam. And one must also give up the sense of proprietorship, that I am doing something. That sense should totally be killed. I am not the doer. Being impelled by gunas, I am doing some action. So anyway, I have to perform action. I'm not going to perform for my result. That resolution one must take. So therefore, free from tyakta sarva parigraha, shariram kevalam karma. So then why should one act? One may have to act to maintain the body. Do we need to maintain this body? Yes, because this body is required for liberation. So a karma yogi is preserving the body, whereas an ordinary karmi, sense enjoyer is also preserving the body. But a sense enjoyer preserves the body for the sake of enjoying the body. A karma yogi preserves the body for the sake of liberation, because this body is required to perform karma yoga. So shariram kevalam karma kurvan napnoti kilbisham. So shariram kevalam karma, just acting for the bare necessities of life. I have to eat, only then I can live. Eating is an action. So I have to perform that karma. But by doing so, I won't be bound, because I am not performing it for sake of enjoyment. Nirashir, already it is mentioned. Nirashir yata chittatma. Already I am free from desires. I am free from proprietorship. So I am fully controlled. I am just acting for the sake of protecting my body, preserving my body. And that too, I am preserving the body for the sake of doing karma yoga for liberation. So that is not shariram kevalam karma kurvan napnoti kilbisham. Na apnoti. Such a person will not get incur any sin. Kurvan napnoti kilbisham. यदृच्छा लाभ संतुष्टो द्वंद्वातीत विमत्सरः. यदृच्छा लाभ संतुष्टो. Yadricha means without wanting, something is coming of its own accord. Yadricha lava santushto. And I am satisfied with that. Whatever is coming, whatever is Bhagavan giving for the sake of protecting this body, I am totally satisfied with that. Yadrichaya lava santushto. Dvandva dito vimatsaraha. Dvandvam I already mentioned. This samsara is characterized by dualities called dvandva. Pleasure, pain, dvandvam. Heat, cold, dvandvam. Summer, winter, dvandvam. So this samsara is characterized by dvandvam. Dvandvam means duality. So one who is able to tolerate the dualities, difficulties that comes while performing this karma yoga, he doesn't incur any sin. Yadrichya lava santushto dvandvatito vimatsaraha. Vimatsaraha means someone who is free from envy. Sama siddhav asiddhav. Whether it is perfection or success or failure, somehow the state of equanimity is maintained. Somehow siddhav asiddhav cha krutvapi na nibadyate. Even though one person may act, that is also not going to bind. So even after achieving the perfection in karma yoga, one may have to act for protecting this body so that one can continue to do karma yoga just by merely being satisfied with whatever comes of its own accord. My prarabdha gives this food today. I am happy with that. I am satisfied with that. Because of my prarabdham, I am now staying in this home. I am happy with that. So if one is satisfied with whatever one gets because of the prarabdham, and one is able to tolerate the dualities and maintain steadiness in both success and failure, krutvapi na nibadyate. Such a person is not bound, doesn't incur any sin. He is not entangled while performing the action. Gata sangasya muktasya jnana vastata chetasah yajnaya acharata karma samagram pravaliyate. Gata sangasya muktasya. Sangam means association. Mukta means repulsion. Gataha means giving up. I gave up both attachment and repulsion. Jnana vasitaha. How can I do that? Because I am situated in jnana. What is that jnana? Jnana of my identity. And my identity is Atma. Jnana vasita chetasaha. Yajnaya acharataha. And I am performing every activity as a form of yajna, as a sacrifice. And yajna is meant to satisfy Bhagavan. That is the meaning of yajna. And yajna in Vishnu Sahasranamam, one of the names of Bhagavan is Yajna, and he is Yajna Purushaha. So I am performing all the activities. Yajnaya acharatah karma samagram pravaliyate. All the karmas are destroyed by performing the activities for the sake of Bhagavan, Jnana Vasitaha, in situated in a consciousness by identifying one with the Atma. Jnana Vasita Chetaha, Yajnaya Acharata Karma Samagram Pravaliyate. Yeah, so these three verses we just now saw. Now 4.24. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi, Brahmagno Brahmana Hutam, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. So if one has fully perfected in Karma Yoga, then the oblations. So now we are imagining Karma Yoga is to be like a big yajna. Brahma Arpanam, whatever oblations we give is also Brahman. Brahma Havi, the Havi that we give is also Brahman. And that Havi is burnt in the Agni, that is also Brahman. Everything is spiritualized by Bhakti, Krishna Bhakti. Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Havir, Brahma Agno. Agni is, so Agni is also Brahman. Brahmana Hutam. Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam. So such a Jiva himself becomes Brahman. So in Upanishads, it is sometimes mentioned, Jiva, sometimes Jiva is mentioned as Brahman, sometimes Bhagavan is mentioned as Brahman. So here Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam means one realizes the Jiva as a servant of Bhagavan. And so then attains the Bhagavan. That is the meaning of Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. So whatever one does, it doesn't produce any material result because everything is related to Brahman. Shastra says Sarvam Kalavidam Brahman. Everything we see is Brahman, which means everything is controlled by Bhagavan. Everything is controlled by Brahman. In that sense, everything is Brahman. So one who is fully conscious of this fact, I am a Jiva who is subservient to Bhagavan, also becomes Brahman. But it doesn't mean one becomes equal to God. One understands one's spiritual position as being servant of Bhagavan and therefore sees everything as Brahman. That's why we say Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Everything is Vasudeva. Everything is Brahman. Sarvam Kalavidam Brahman. Because everything is controlled by Vasudeva, by permeating into everything, by his omnipresent feature. He is present everywhere and he is also Antaryami. He also controls everything. So everything is Brahman in that sense. So therefore, Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Havir, Brahma Agno, Brahmana Hutam, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. So one who is all doing everything for the satisfaction of Brahman, Bhagavan, attains Brahman finally also. And that is the success of a Nishkama Karma Yogi. So, then Bhagavan goes on to describe different kinds of yajnas in these verses, starting from 25. Daivam eva pare yajnam yoginaha paryupashate brahmagnau apare yajnam yajnaiva ena apajuhvati. So then there are other karma yogis who engage in worship of different devatas. That is also one form of yajna. Some people offer oblations into the fire of Brahman. And Shrotradini Yani Anye Samyamagnishu Juhvati Shabdadin Vishayan Anya Indriyagnishu Juhvati. So different kinds of yogis perform different kinds of yajnas. Some people do worship of devatas. Some people worship Brahman, Brahma Upasanam. Some people do. Some brahmacharis, they control senses. Shrotra Dini, starting from the senses, sense of hearing, they offer the senses into the sense control. So brahmacharis offer the senses in the fire of mind control. whereas sense and shabdadin vishayananya indriyagnishu juhvati. Then grahasthas, householders, they offer their sense objects in the fire of senses, which means a grahastha can enjoy senses in their ways, but a brahmachari is supposed to do mental control. So they offer the senses in the fire of sense control, whereas grahasthas offer their sense objects in the senses, which means senses are now experiencing various kinds of experiences because sense objects are themselves given as offering to the senses. That is also one kind of yajna. And then self-control, followers of Patanjali yoga system offer the functions of the senses and the life as sarvani indriyani karmani prana karmani chapare. Sarvani indriyani karmani. So function of the senses, prana karmani, and the functions of the life air is given by yogis in the fire of self-control. Atma samyame yogagno juhvati jnana deepite. In the search of Atma. So different kinds of people are performing different kinds of yajna and they have a goal, which is the Atma. And some people also do dravya yajnam. Some people engage in charity, donations. Tapo yajnam. Some people engage in austerity. Tapo yajnam, yoga yajnam. Some people perform Ashtanga yoga to attain yoga siddhi. Swadhyaya yajnam. Some people engage in themselves in the study of scriptures, Upanishads, Vedas, etc. Some people perform pranayama. So all these are now can be clubbed into karma yoga. So all these yajnas can be compared to different kinds of karma yogas. So one who gives charity can give charity without expecting the results. One who does austerity should now perform austerity without expecting the results and material results, etc. So स्वाध्याय यज्ञस् ज्ञान यज्ञश्च यतयः संसिता व्रतः. And so, what is the purpose of all these yajnas? Sarve api yete yajna. All these yajnas, sarve api, now whatever yajna we spoke, swadhyaya yajna, dravya yajna, tapo yajna, jnana yajna, and brahmacharis give their senses into the fire of sense control. Grahasthas give their sense objects into the senses. So many kinds of yajnas, all these yajnas, sarve api yete yajna, vido yajna kshapita kalmashaha. All these are for sake of chitta shuddhi, for the sake of purification. The Atma has acquired a huge stockpile of karma accumulated over past many lives. So through these yajnas, the stockpile of karma is getting burnt gradually. And that way one is able to control the senses. Sarve api yete yajno vida yajna kshapita kalmashaha. All these sinful reactions are burnt. Yajna shishtamrita puja. And then it also gives some enjoyment. Performing some yajna will lead to some material result, but that is secondary result. Yajna shishta amrita bhujo. So one also enjoys the secondary benefits of yajna, but the main purpose of yajna is yanti brahma sanatanam, to attain brahman, to attain liberation. So all these yajnas, doing charity, doing austerity, reading scriptures, and sense control, prana control, etc., etc., all this can be clubbed into Nishkama Karma Yoga. And all this, we already saw, Nishkama Karma Yoga leads to purification of consciousness, and that leads to Jnana of Atma and Paramatma. And that Jnanam burns, Jnanagni Dagda Karmanam. All the karma is burnt in that fire of knowledge, and that leads to liberation. Yajna Shishtamrita Bhujo Yanti Brahma Sanatanam. Evam Bahuvida Yajna, all these various kinds of yajna, Vitata Brahmano Mukhe. All these are mentioned in Vedas. Brahmano Mukhe, Karmajan Vidhi Tan Sarvan, Evam Nyatva Vimokshasi. So, the purpose of these yajnas, as we saw, is moksha. Evam jnatva mokshasi. Knowing about all these different kinds of yajnas from Vedas will give one chance for mukti by doing Nishkama Karma Yoga through these yajnas, different kinds of yajnas. Now, which yajna is better? That question will come, no? So many kinds of yajnas are there. Now, which yajna out of this is better? So, Bhagavan says, Shreyan Dravyamayad Yajnat Jnana Yajna Parantapa. Jnana Yajna, the yajna that leads to Jnanam, is better than better than yajnas like charity or austerity, etc. Why? Sarvam karma kilam partha jnane parishamapyate. Because all this karma yoga is ultimately for eventually for attaining jnana only. So that yajna which directly results in the jnana of Atma and Paramatma should be given higher priority, higher importance, because that is better than Dravyamaya Yajna, etc. So Sarvam Karma Akilam. All this karma, Sarvam Karma Akilam Partha, Jnane Parishamapyate. They all end in Jnanam. All this, why we are doing? Now we are discussing Bhagavad Gita, we are reading scriptures, trying to do meditation, control. Some people are interested in austerity. All this should culminate in the Jnanam. And so all the karma should end in the Jnanam. Jnanam of Bhagavan and Jiva. One must understand the relationship between Jiva and Bhagavan. Jiva is Atma, so Atma Jnanam also should lead to Paramatma Jnanam. So Bhagavan is the controller of the Jiva. So one must learn this science from a Guru, Bhagavan says. Tadvidhi pranipatena. And how one should approach the Guru? One should be submissive. One should be very humble and approach the Guru by rendering service to him. And then those self-realized souls will impart knowledge after being satisfied. So then they will teach these techniques to the disciples so that the disciples can achieve success. So one must be qualified to be a Guru, and one must also have the genuine desire to become a disciple. A Shishya should have the genuine desire for Mukti, and only such a Shishya should go to such a Guru who himself is realized and who himself is capable of giving the Jnanam to the disciple. Only then this Guru-Shishya relationship will be fructified. So therefore, the secret of the spiritual advancement, Bhagavan says, is by approaching a Guru. Even Krishna himself approached Shantipani Muni by humbly submitting himself and doing seva to him and learning from him knowledge, by which Krishna shows that everyone also should take Guru, proper Guru. One must approach a Guru who is a Veda, who is expert in Vedas, who is expert in the science of Atma, Paramatma, etc., who knows Brahman. From that person, one must learn what is Brahman. Then in the verses from 35 to 38, Bhagavan glorifies Jnana so much. Yajnatva na punarmoham evam yasyasi pandava yena bhutani asheshani drakshasi atmani atomai. So realizing, after realization, what will happen? So now I am perfected in the Nishkama Karma Yoga. Sarva kilam karmam jnane parishamapyate. So all the karma, all these yajnas have led in realization of jnanam. I got jnanam. Now what? So realizing the Lord and the Jiva and Atma, one will no longer be confused. One will not fall into illusion. That is the benefit of this jnana. We should know what is the glories of jnana. Okay, I have done so much to get this jnana, struggled in life after life to get this jnana. Now what? Next what? So by attaining this jnanam, na punar moham evam yasyasi pandava. One will again not fall into illusion by considering this body is Atma. Yena bhutani asheshani drakshasi atmani atomai. And one will be able to see that everyone is Jiva, and the Jiva is situated in his body, and all the Jivas are controlled by Paramatma. All this one can see. That is also mentioned by Bhagavan here. Yena bhutani asheshena Drakshasi, one can see all the bhutas, all the jivas one can see in the true sense. Yena bhutani asheshena drakshasi atmani atomai. All of them are situated in me, Bhagavan says. So the jivas are situated in the body, and all these bodies are situated in the Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is Paramatma. So both Paramatma Jnanam and Jivatma Jnanam is the culmination of the Nishkama Karma Yoga. And one who attains this Jnanam will no longer be in illusion, will no longer fall into the trap of Maya. And Bhagavan glorifies in the 36th verse, even to a greater extent, the importance of jnana. Apichet asi papebhyo, even if he's most sinful person, apichet asi papebhyo, sarvebhyo, he might have done all the papam, accumulated all the papa karma for so many millions of lives. Still, sarvam jnana plavenaiva, by this boat of jnanam, by the boat of knowledge, vrijinam santarishasi, one can cross over the ocean of miseries. So, this jnana is glorified by Bhagavan to that extent that even if one is a sinful person throughout the life, by this boat of jnanam, one can cross this ocean of samsara very easily. And the reason we already explained. Yata yataidamsi samiddigno samiddognir. How Agni burns firewood, just like that, this jnanam will burn all the sinful reactions. We already saw that this is repetition. And one can then enjoy unlimited peace and happiness in one's mind. So, last 3 verses. So, now who is eligible for attaining this jnanam? Bhagavan says, one should have shraddha in the process, first of all. So, one should have that shraddha. Yes, if I do karma yoga, it will lead to purification of consciousness, and one fine day it will lead to not one fine day. The jnana will also keep blossoming. Realization will keep blossoming, and it will attain its perfection at one point of time in future. So this one should have faith, because Krishna is saying, Vedas are saying, so there should be some shraddha, there should be some dedication, sincerity in the process. And one must be willing to perform sense control. How to control the senses? By performing karma yoga only. That's what we have been seeing so far. So one must perform Nishkama karma yoga, controlling all the senses, and one will achieve jnanam finally, which will burn all the karmas. So who cannot attain jnanam? That also Bhagavan says. Ajnas ashraddha dana, one who doesn't have shraddha. Ajnanam, one who is deeply ignorant, and one who always doubts. Everywhere there is a doubt. Skeptics, we say, no? Everything they keep doubting. So they will lose track easily. It is not that one should not ask doubt. One should ask doubt. Proper doubts one should ask. After trying to understand, one should ask doubt, one should get it clarified. But there are some people who doubt everything. Oh, what is the proof that Bhagavan spoke Gita? Someone might have written Gita. So many arguments they'll bring in. So, which means there is no Shraddha. So such a person cannot progress in this path. That person will fall down, Bhagavan says. So one cannot achieve success in Karma Yoga in that way. So last 2 verses. So these actions, one who acts in devotional service, in this bhakti, that in the bhakti and in the Karma Yoga, performing everything for the sake of Bhagavan, renouncing the yoga sanyasta karmanam, renouncing all the fruits of action, jnana sanchinna samshayam, all the doubts will be destroyed by the knowledge. Jnana sanchinna samshayam, samshayam means doubts. Now we have so many doubts, all that will be cut into pieces when the jnanam blossoms into the heart. That jnanam, it automatically comes, and automatically all the meanings of the scriptures one will start to realize. But that shraddha should be there, dedication should be there. By the shraddha and dedication in the process, in the scriptures, in the Vedas, if one continues to perform Karma Yoga, then automatically all the doubts, we ourselves will be able to feel that. All the doubts will get destroyed, and one will be established in the self, and then one will be able to get freed from the reactions of the work. And in this way, Bhagavan says one should cut away all the doubts, which is because of the ignorance. By this knowledge of Atma. So Bhagavan therefore concludes, stand up and fight and do karma yoga. Perform your action as nishkama karma yoga, and that will lead to this jnanam, and that jnanam will destroy all your doubts. Because that's where Arjuna started. Arjuna was having doubt initially. So therefore Bhagavan ends in this chapter saying, by performing this nishkama karma yoga, all your doubts will be cleared. So we'll end for today. If there is any doubt, please ask. Otherwise, we'll end for the day and we'll end by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Please unmute and chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Next class will be tomorrow.